Previously, in part 1 of this investigation, we stepped into the shady world of color corrective glasses and exposed their underwhelming reality. We discovered that these companies were actively manipulating their review systems to create an illusion of customer satisfaction. And we uncovered a disturbing stage reaction video on Enchroma's website. Now, in part 2, we're delving deeper into the scam, challenging the false marketing and scientific claims head on. So strap in as we peel back the layers of deception to reveal the shocking reality these companies have been hiding. This rabbit hole is far deeper and darker than you can imagine. When I initially embarked on this project, I thought I'd be making a video about a pair of glasses that could potentially help with my color blindness. They'd either be a game changer or they'd flop. Simple as that. Never in my wildest dreams was I expecting to stumble across an industry that is riddled with systematic deception and lies. From the rig reviews online to the stage reaction videos, it was clear this industry had a dark underbelly. But how deep did this dirty rabbit hole go? Well, it wasn't until I did a deep dive on the science behind color blindness and how these glasses supposedly help that I realized just how much of a scam this industry is. Now, quick disclaimer, I've simplified some very complex science to make this as easy to understand as possible. So, when it comes to perceiving color, the retina in our eyes utilize 3 types of cone cells. Each cone detects light at specific wavelengths, which roughly correlates to the colors blue, green, and red. When looking at, say, a banana, light enters the eye stimulating each of these cones at different strengths. Our brain then compares the amount of activation in each cone to determine what color it is we're seeing. Since the banana has strongly activated our red and green cone, but barely any of the blue cone, our brain goes, aha, this must be yellow. This system for determining color is known as trichromacy. Okay, so what's going on with my eyes? Well, in my eyes, the green cone isn't functioning correctly, and as a result, its sensitivity to light has shifted closer to the red cone. This increased overlap between the red and green cone causes issues, because when I look at a banana, the ratio of color comparisons is now thrown off balance, causing my brain to interpret more of a greenish yellow. It also means certain oranges and reds can look more brownish. This type of color vision deficiency is known as deuteranomaly. When the defect is in your red cone, it's known as protanomaly, and in your blue cone, tritanomaly. These 3 types of color blindness are all known as anomalous trichromacy, or as I like to call it, Tier 1 color blindness. They sound like Harry Potter spells. Anomalous trichromacy! So how do color corrective glasses attempt to address this issue? Well, I can only elaborate on Enchroma's product as the other brands don't offer a detailed scientific explanation. Now, Enchroma's glasses work by filtering out the specific wavelengths where the overlapping of cones is most significant, with the aim of reducing this confusion zone and improving the contrast of certain colors. But this approach is a double-edged sword, because to achieve this, they're literally filtering out certain wavelengths from the spectrum. And as a result, certain colors will look muted when wearing the glasses, as I noticed in my own test. However, despite these limitations, Enchroma makes outlandish claims like, Enchroma user sees full spectrum of color for the first time. How could anyone see a full spectrum of color when your glasses literally stop certain wavelengths of light from reaching the eye? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Now, here's where Enchroma's explanation of the science just seemed flat out dodgy. They claim that this process of filtering certain wavelengths somehow forces separation of the overlapping cones, restoring some form of normalcy in the eye. Here's a video of Enchroma's inventor, founder, and chief science officer, Don McPherson, making this absurd claim.
What our filter does is it carves out some light between those 2 overlapped photopigments, where they overlap, pushing them back apart. Now the signals to the 2 cones are closer to that of a normal visioned person, and when it reaches the brain, it's able to process the information correctly.
Now, I'm not a color vision expert, but that seemed like fairy tale science. How could filtering light fix a genetic issue with the photoreceptors in my eyes? That just didn't make sense to me. Also, it's worth pointing out that this concept of filtering out wavelengths isn't a novel idea. Hunting glasses also work by filtering light to boost the contrast of certain colors, thereby enhancing a hunter's vision in the wild. And while that boosted contrast might be helpful in certain scenarios, it's by no means a more accurate depiction of reality, is it? So the claim that these glasses help those with anomalous trichromacy see new colors for the first time felt rather questionable. But get this, anomalous trichromacy is the least severe category of color blindness. So what are the other two tiers? Well, tier 2 is known as dichromacy, which is where one of your 3 cones don't function at all. And again, there are 3 types depending on which cone isn't working. Now, as you can imagine, with an entire cone essentially missing, tier 2 is drastically more severe than tier 1. So how could light filtering glasses help with tier 2? Well, honestly, it seems practically impossible because the entire point of these glasses was to address the excessive overlap between 2 cones. But with 1 cone now out of the equation, this concept no longer makes sense, right? And then there's tier 3, which is known as monochromacy or achromatopsia. That's where 2 or all 3 of the cones aren't functioning at all. Those who suffer from monochromacy see the world in black and white. And again, I can't see how blocking certain wavelengths is going to bring back the functionality of cones that simply don't work. So as you can see, there are many types of color blindness, and the severity between each tier is significant. This all begs the question, what types of color vision deficiency do these companies claim their glasses help with? Well, Enchroma claims their glasses only help with 2 types, deuterans and protans in tier 1. However, this information is buried in their website, and their marketing would have you believe otherwise. For example, if we revisit the video Enchroma launched with Valspar, pay attention to how they describe color blindness.
You don't see the world the same way. Commonly, red and green don't look different, but look the same.
Now, if you're struggling to differentiate red and green traffic lights, it's likely you're grappling with the tier 2 red-green color blindness, something Enchroma openly acknowledges their glasses can't rectify. But the inconsistencies don't stop there. In the same video, one of the colorblind individuals describes his condition. Listen closely to what he says.
It's not that I can't name them, there's nothing there. That's gray, and that's gray, and that's gray.
What this man just described sounds a whole lot like tier 3 monochromacy. Then, when he puts on the glasses...
So is that what you guys see every day? Yeah?
So alongside the other dubious claims, Enchroma is insinuating their glasses can help people with monochromatic vision see color. Unfortunately, this deceptive narrative isn't an isolated incident, it's a reoccurring theme. From the black and white thumbnails on Enchroma's YouTube channel to the educational content on their website, Enchroma consistently generalizes color blindness towards the more severe types. And the other brands are arguably even worse. Pilestone openly claims their glasses work for both tier 1 and tier 2 color blindness, while providing absolutely zero explanation as to how their glasses achieve this. And they too boldly insinuate that their glasses help with monochromatic vision in their advertising material, which they promptly removed after learning of my investigation. Funny that. Then there's Carelust, aka the Terminator glasses, who shamelessly boast that their glasses help every single type of color blindness, including monochromatism. At this point in my investigation, I was very confident that these companies were lying about their products and misleading consumers. But surely someone out there, smarter than I am, has taken a closer look at the science behind this technology. So I scoured the internet for any science-backed evidence that either supports or disproves this technology. I found little evidence of any clinical studies for Pilestone or Carelust. Enchroma, on the other hand, boasted a study on their website by the University of Incarnate Word. Groundbreaking research reveals the power of Enchroma's technology. They claim the study found that their glasses, 1. Stimulates the brain's color vision center, 2. Shows an immediate and long-lasting improvement, and 3. Reveals a 3 to 5x improvement after 6 months. I won't lie, it sounded promising and started second-guessing myself. So I clicked the link only to find out that the study was paywalled and I'd have to cough up $40 US to reveal the full paper. But you can't put a price on the truth, so I paid the $40 only to have half a page of additional information revealed. Ouch! Turns out this wasn't a full-length study at all, but rather a brief communication. That's important because brief communications often aren't peer-reviewed. Anyways, in this $40 half a page of information, it showed that Enchroma had donated the 16 pairs of glasses used in the experiment, yet only 13 volunteers participated in the study. Sorry, brief communication. The worst part? The claim of a 3 to 5x improvement that Enchroma referenced wasn't a finding from the paper at all. No, instead, it was derived from a random unspecified test conducted on one of the participants 6 months later. Yet Enchroma presents it in a way that suggests it were a solid conclusion from the study, and has plastered the claim all over their website. Yikes. Now, given the lack of in-depth information in this paper, I decided to reach out to key author, Professor Jeffrey Rabin, and the University of Incarnate Word for clarification of some of my concerns. But despite multiple attempts, I received no reply. Then, not long later, something strange happened. The paywall was removed from the brief communication, making it free to the public. Was I just scammed by the science community? Now, maybe this was entirely coincidental, but the timing felt incredibly suspicious. Undeterred, I continued my quest for an independent study, one that could hopefully offer a more detailed scientific perspective to the benefits of these glasses. Thankfully, I discovered an actual full-length scientific paper through Enchroma's website. Enchroma claims that the study, which was conducted by the University of California, Davis, uncovered some surprising results. The participants' ability to identify and experience color in all its hues was demonstrated when they were not wearing Enchroma glasses. That's a bold claim. Alright, so as I'm scrolling through this behemoth, I was met with a barrage of complex graphs and esoteric algebraic formulas. I started salivating like, yes, finally a proper study that I can sink my teeth into. But as I start reading, several red flags started popping up. Once again, a very small sample size with only 8 colorblind volunteers participating. And surprise, surprise, once again, the glasses were donated by Enchroma. This is becoming a reoccurring theme. The worst part though, it turns out that one of the key authors of this paper, Kenneth Knobloch, is a shareholder in Enchroma. Yeah, a key author of the scientific study is a shareholder in Enchroma. Holy conflict of interest! Now, after a bit of digging around, I found a video on YouTube where Kenneth Knobloch is giving a talk about the findings from the study. And during his presentation, he mentioned that the subjects who wore Enchroma glasses made positive spontaneous comments. Yet I couldn't locate these comments anywhere in this paper. Turns out they were buried away in a supplemental information document. And inside this document, I found other spontaneous comments, such as not wearing the glasses because I didn't notice any change. And another one read, I have heard of these glasses and I think it is a scam. Now, why didn't Mr. Shareholder mention those comments in his talk? So who the hell is Kenneth Knobloch and what is his involvement with Enchroma? And why is his last name the German word for garlic? This was no laughing matter. At the very least, Mr. Garlic was an investor in Enchroma, and that's terrible enough. But if it turns out he was in any way directly involved with the company, that's even worse. So I scoured Enchroma's website looking for any mention of a Kenneth Knobloch, but found nothing. Not even a whiff of garlic. And after hours of extensive research, I hit a dead end. I found no connection between Kenneth Knobloch and Enchroma. But as luck would have it, and by pure accident, I stumbled across an unlisted video from Enchroma's YouTube channel. And guess whose name crops up? In the video, Enchroma's founder, Don McPherson, reflects on the skepticism they encountered from the scientific community when starting their business. However, they finally met one particular scientist who offered them a beacon of optimism.
I had some people that were pretty negative initially in the vision science community that just clearly were saying it can't be done. And then I met this guy who's in France. His name is Ken Knobloch. I described it to him and he said, oh, so you want to adjust the quantal catch of the photopigments to reestablish some normalcy to the chromatic channels? And I said, yes. And he said, yeah, that can be done.
It sounds like Dr. Knobloch may have worked for Enchroma as a consultant. I mean, companies don't just hand out shares for a few words of encouragement, right? And whether my speculations were right or wrong, ethically speaking, how could anyone take such a paper seriously when a key author has a vested interest in the outcome of the experiment? Just speculating here, but these studies were starting to feel a lot more like orchestrated PR stunts than actual science. But this was a rabbit hole I'd have to explore later. First, were there any studies out there without a clear conflict of interest? Turns out, there is. I found a study conducted by the University of Granada in Spain. There were no conflicts of interest, the glasses weren't donated by Enchroma, and they utilized a far more robust sample size of 48 volunteers. And when I reached out to discuss their findings, co-author Professor Eva Valero responded immediately. So in your paper, you tested the effectiveness of Encchroma's glasses. What was the conclusion of your study?
and we concluded that neither the discrimination, nor the recognition, nor the sorting ability using other tests was enhanced. So what we concluded, I think rightly in our study, is that the glasses do not compensate the CVD condition.
So how exactly do these glasses work?
The idea is that subtract some information, and by doing that create more contrast between pairs of colors, okay? So it can enhance particular pairs at the cost of decreasing the contrast in other pairs. Overall, they will not increase the number of colors that you can see in a scene, and mostly they play with brightness, contrast.
To sum up, none of these glasses are in any way showing a real version of the color. They're simply changing the color contrasts, essentially.
Exactly.
Now, this raises an important point, because many people get tricked by the fact that some of these glasses can help you pass or improve on an Ishihara color blindness test. For example, without the glasses, I cannot see the number 7 on this plate, but with the glasses, I can. Now, that's not because my color blindness is cured or because I'm finally seeing new color. The glasses are simply making the green 7 darker compared to the red. So instead of relying on hue to differentiate between two colors, I can now use the contrast or difference in brightness to distinguish between the two colors. You're literally just cheating the test. This is something that has misled many into believing these glasses are more effective than they truly are. And you don't need a pair of $300 glasses to do this. This here is a 20-cent piece of magenta tinted cellophane that I picked up from a local arts and crafts store. Same effect, much cheaper. So, is it correct that for those who suffer color vision deficiency, it is scientifically impossible to filter light waves in a way that could help them see color for the first time?
Yes, it is impossible because the filters are just subtracting information, as we have seen. They will not modify anything or change anything in the retina of the subject. So what is happening is that he is just noticing the color shift that the filters introduce, and he's seeing the same object with a different color, and this might seem new to him, and maybe he or she likes it very much because he likes or she likes the appearance of the object, the new appearance, but he is not seeing new colors. He's seeing the same object with a different color that he has seen before in other objects.
The professor's explanation perfectly captures the essence of these glasses. The scam is not that these glasses do nothing, it's that they don't work as advertised. The discrepancy between the functional value of these glasses versus the promised benefit is significant. Yes, some people with a color vision deficiency may find that these glasses help them distinguish certain colors better. However, you have to remember that comes at the cost of other colors. And just because some people find utility in these glasses doesn't mean it's not a scam. Imagine buying a sunscreen only to find out that what you bought is a moisturizer. You'd be pissed, right? The product might not be completely useless, but you bought it on the premise that it would protect your skin from the sun. I consider that a scam. I don't care if you have a 60-day return policy or a disclaimer hidden away on your website. You cannot and should not mislead people with a disability. Now, if you're colorblind and you're curious as to what effect these glasses offer, those with normal color vision can also experience the effects of these glasses. And Chroma even goes so far as to claim their glasses boost color perception for those with normal vision. So in your test with 48 volunteers, did any of them, when trying on the glasses for the first time, have an immediate emotional reaction?
None of them. No, and
Not
the
one.
majority, none of them cried, and the majority were a little bit disappointed on the effect, so it was not life-changing at all for any of them. The claims that they do, they are not only not accurate, they are directly misleading. In general, I think in the scientific community, the idea that is accepted is that the filters cannot turn any color blindness condition into normal. This is very clear for scientists nowadays, so I would like this to be very clear for society.
Now, as Professor Vallejo just highlighted, her and her team are not the only researchers who have concluded that these glasses don't perform as advertised. Dr. Emily Patterson, along with a team of researchers, have also published a paper that calls into question the efficacy of these glasses. Intrigued, I reached out to Dr. Patterson and we discussed the validity of several marketing claims. Can these color vision aids help you see new colors for the first time?
No.
Our patented colorblind glasses are guaranteed to help you see color and thousands of hues for the first time.
No.
True or false?
False. You're certainly not going to see new colors for the first time because they're not giving you a new detector.
Enchroma's glasses help your brain see color. Is that true or false?
No. Somebody who has color blindness, as we'll call it, is capable of seeing all the colors. It's just the photoreceptors. You know, if you don't have the detector there, you're not going to be able to distinguish colors within a certain part of that visible spectrum. So your brain is capable of seeing color. The glasses don't help your brain.
Now, remember Enchroma's scientific explanation as to how their glasses work? Specifically, the claim that they push the sensitivity of the cones back apart, closer to that of a normal vision person. Well, I ran that claim by Dr. Patterson.
No, it can't shift the sensitivity of the cones.
Okay, awesome.
It can cut out what reaches the cones. That's all.
There you have it. Enchroma isn't just stretching the truth as to how their glasses work, they're inventing their own science, which is both astonishing and incredibly concerning. Do you think the way these companies are advertising their glasses is ethical?
No, because I think it is sending the wrong message. I think it's misleading, especially the emotional videos. You know, the majority of these videos have people who are crying. They often involve families and children and saying they're seeing their children's eye color for the first time and things like this. They are posing it as, you know, you're gonna see new colors, we're opening you up to a world that you've never experienced before. No, I think that preys upon people and their, you know, emotional need to see what other people are seeing.
Now, just as I thought this scam couldn't get any juicier, I spoke with one last color vision scientist, Dr. Kenneth Knobloch. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. After emailing Dr. Knobloch with some questions about his role at Enchroma, he got back to me and was surprisingly open with his answers. In his email, he admitted he was indeed a consultant for Enchroma during its early stages. This led to him being offered shares in the company at a bargain price. He also stated that he himself is colorblind and doesn't agree with the way Enchroma advertises their glasses. Interesting. So I asked Dr. Knobloch if he'd agreed to doing an interview with me, and to my surprise, he said yes. First order of business was to find out if Dr. Knobloch agreed with how Enchroma characterized the findings from his study. Now, something that surprised me is how Enchroma characterized the findings from your study on their website. Enchroma claims that your study, and I quote, uncovered some surprising results. The participants' ability to identify and experience color in all its hues was demonstrated when they were not wearing Enchroma glasses. Is that an accurate characterization of your findings?
No, we never said anything like that.
Okay, so with what Enchroma just said, that they have mischaracterized the findings from your study.
Well, I haven't seen exactly what they said, but that...
I just read it to you. This is a direct quote that your study uncovered some surprising results. The participants' ability to identify and experience color in all its hues was demonstrated when they were not wearing Enchroma glasses.
I would never say that myself. Well, I think their marketing people may have gotten a little bit ahead of the game.
There you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. Enchroma has misled consumers by mischaracterizing the findings of a scientific study. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I suspect that's entering the realms of fraud. I mean, that's pretty you have to admit, it's pretty unethical to take someone's scientific study and then mischaracterize it to sell your glasses. You know,
right.
Were you aware that they were mischaracterizing your findings in this way?
Well, number one, no, I'm not following their marketing. I mean, at one point or another, I have made suggestions about how they should market these, which as far as I can see, they haven't followed. When I've seen things, you know, at one point when I was more active in this, I complained and I try to make my opinions clear.
Yikes! So let me get this straight. Ken, a color vision scientist, complained to Enchroma about their advertising, tried steering them towards a more honest approach, but this advice ultimately got disregarded. If true, that's not a good look for Enchroma. Our patented colorblind glasses are guaranteed to help you see color and thousands of hues for the first time. True or false?
Well, I think any kind of statement like that has to be qualified. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of. I take all advertising with a grain of salt, so I take that with a large grain of salt.
So you're not willing to say that it's wrong, but you're not willing to say that it's right.
I'd say it's never been tested, but it sounds a little strong.
It sounds a little strong. Okay.
I don't know if there's any evidence to back that up.
There isn't. I'll be honest, I developed a certain respect for Ken because of his candor with me. Despite his connections to Enchroma, he largely sided with scientific accuracy instead of justifying Enchroma's marketing. I have to respect that. However, in my opinion, his bias towards Enchroma was unmistakably evident. Now, you've given several talks about your study. In one of the talks, you mentioned positive spontaneous comments by the observers, but you left out negative comments. For example, I've heard of these glasses and I think it is a scam. Another observer says, not wearing these glasses because I didn't notice any change. Why did you leave those comments out? You have to admit, knowing your affiliation, that comes across.
First of all, some of those negative comments were from people who were wearing placebo.
Both those negative comments there, those were from people with the CBD.
Right. Well, we published all of them. I mean, there's not room to publish all of them in the main article. That's why we have supplementary. The supplementary is available. It's not hidden.
I mean, I think it's good that you include them, but two of them were negative, and then when you sort of discussed your findings, only the positive one was highlighted. Was that your bias coming through?
Well, as I say, in the format of the journal, you're limited to what you can include. I'm talking about during your talk. So this is during a talk on YouTube. I guess I wasn't thinking about it. This is a year ago. I don't remember, but it would have been good to make a disclaimer that not everybody responds this way.
Now, later in our discussions, I asked Ken how he came to be a consultant for Enchroma and how he met Don McPherson, the founder. And as he was giving his answer, he unintentionally revealed another potential conflict of interest.
Actually, he and Jack Werner, Jack's in California and Chroma's in Berkeley.
As soon as he mentioned the name Jack Werner, I knew exactly who he was talking about. Jack, or John Werner, was a professor at the University of California, Davis. And like Ken, he too was an author of the same study.
I'm a long-term colleague with Jack Werner. We've worked together we've known each other since we were graduate students. He was consulting with Don. They invited me to join in the discussions back then.
Okay. So did Jack Werner also work as a consultant for Enchroma?
Yeah, at one point. At one point. I mean, we had discussions.
Holy shit. If Ken's telling the truth, and I see no reason why he'd lie, that means two authors from this paper had a clear conflict of interest with Enchroma. And let's not forget, the paper only disclosed Ken's shareholding and made no mention of his consultancy role, let alone this alleged affiliation with Professor Werner. Hilariously, the paper confidently states the authors declare no competing interests. Yeah. Now, after contacting Professor Werner for comment, he stated that he has no personal or professional conflict of interest with Enchroma, while ignoring my specific questions. And when I asked if he would refute the claims made by his colleague, Ken, I never heard back from him. Funny that. And again, I see no reason why Ken would have lied about this. He had nothing bad to say about his longtime colleague, Professor Werner. The most concerning part about all of this is that Enchroma have leveraged the study to bolster trust in consumers, even having the audacity to claim that the study was independent.
So it's really good for us as a company, it's good for the end user to realize that there's now independent scientific voices. Some of the best people in the field have come out and done very, very detailed studies to show that the glasses do perform as advertised.
By independent scientific voices, are you referring to the guy that has shares in your company, Don? Just curious. It couldn't be more black and white. After thoroughly examining the science, it was clear these glasses don't work as advertised for any type of color blindness, and the science has been twisted to serve a dishonest narrative. But this distortion of science isn't the sole reason behind the widespread success of these glasses. There's another pivotal player in this drama that has significantly contributed in perpetuating this scam. Enter the mainstream media, the one source we can rely on for accurate, unbiased information. right?
It is the amazing technology that is allowing the colorblind to see what they've never been able to see before.
A magical moment for a local woman lighting up social media with smiles.
Don McPherson says he's developed a pair of sunglasses that can help colorblind people see normally.
Yeah, nah. You'd think given all the resources at their disposal, at least one journalist would have taken a closer look at this technology. But no, they too couldn't help themselves and jumped on the viral bandwagon, pushing one uninformed news story after another, further fueling this poop soup of a scam and never once questioning the science. In fact, the media have arguably been worse than the likes of Logan Paul. Allow me to share with you a prime example. Remember the Keyless glasses that gave me the Terminator vision? Well, what I didn't tell you was that I discovered these glasses from a WNEP 16 news story. In the segment, John Hickey, a meteorologist from the channel, tries on the Keyless glasses for the first time under the guidance of a professional eye clinic.
Now John puts on the Careless colorblind glasses and gives it another try.
And then this is 74.
Yeah. How about this one?
I'm gonna cry. This is insane.
I'm an emotional basket.
I've
I'll cry with you.
never been able to do this in my entire life. I can see color.
Are you okay?
It's so great. I've never seen this before. Never seen the color.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This doofus put on the Terminator glasses, saw this, then cried like a baby on television. Now, if these idiots actually did their job, you know, journalism, and did even an ounce of research, they would have realized that the company they've promoted is literally a complete scam. I noticed red flags the moment I visited Keyless website. Spelling and grammatical errors, absurd claims about the product with zero explanation as to how the product works, fake reviews, some of which had literally been copied from other websites. A quick reverse image search of the glasses revealed that the product isn't manufactured by Keyless at all. No, the product is actually a pair of $4 glasses from China, which Keyless are reselling for a very generous $90 US. Hilariously, Keyless claim these $4 spectacles are patented technology and FDA approved. However, a quick email to the Federal Drug Administration confirmed that these glasses are not FDA approved because 1, the product category typically doesn't even require FDA approval, and 2, even if it did, Keyless would need to be a registered medical device manufacturer in the USA, which they most certainly are not. The claim that these glasses are FDA approved is 100% fraudulent. Not to mention, Keyless Limited is registered under a phony address in London with a phone number that doesn't work. A check of the business registration revealed that Keyless is run by a Mr. Mohammed Al-Amri, who's the CEO and sole employee of the so-called company. The website is nothing more than a textbook dropshipping scam. What's truly baffling is that this took me less than an hour's worth of research to find all of this out. I mean, if these so-called journalists at WNEP had dedicated even a minute of consumer-level research, like, I don't know, Googling Keyless reviews, they would have found a multitude of warnings from the likes of Reddit and Trustpilot, where consumers have been warning the community about this terrible product, and the fact that Mr. Al-Amri doesn't fulfill his return policy, opting instead to ignore his victims' emails. The most ironic part about this WNEP news segment is that it's titled, "Does it really work?" Great job, WNEP, outstanding journalism. Not only did you fail to answer your own question, you just gave Mr. Al-Amri a free advertising slot to promote his scam, which he promptly featured on his website, undoubtedly giving victims a false sense of security in this scam. Now, I wish I could say this stupidity ended here, but these clowns couldn't get enough and decided to make a part 2 of this abysmal content. And unfortunately, it gets worse. In the second episode, meteorologist John Hickey realizes that the glasses aren't that great after all. Oh no. Turns out you can't see green traffic lights while wearing the glasses.
John says the colorblind test he took with the book didn't prepare him for what he was about to see next.
Like, I couldn't see the green light at all on a traffic signal.
Well, no shit, John. Everything's red. But here's where things get f***ing comical. The medical expert they had on the show, Dr. Michael Boland from Northeastern Eye Institute in Clark Summit, claims that the issue is not with the $4 glasses, but rather with John's brain. Well, he's not entirely wrong. Listen to this interaction after John complains he couldn't see green traffic lights.
Dr. Michael Boland says when colorblind people see real colors outside for the first time, it can cause the brain to be confused. So is he actually seeing the right colors then with those glasses on, but he just isn't aware of it? Or is it the fact that he's not seeing the colors right?
He's seeing a truer version of the color. It's just not what he's used to and what his brain has memorized as being that color.
Yeah, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a trained medical professional validating the absurd claim that these $4 glasses from China are helping John see a truer version of colors. It blows my mind that a doctor who clearly knows nothing about this product goes on television and confidently proclaims the effects of these glasses, completely oblivious to the fact that what he's just endorsed is literally a scam.
Okay, but how is Dr. Bullen wrong in it?
How's Dr. Bullen wrong? Well, he said that these glasses, without having even looked into what they are or checking the spectral transmittance, he said that yes, these glasses are providing him a truer version of color. Why would you say that about a product you know nothing about?
Hi, this is Dr. Bullen.
Hi, Dr. Bullen.
Hey, I didn't talk about glasses at all. I don't know where you got this information from. I think you have the wrong guy, so...
Dr. Michael Bullen,
you can publish whatever you want, but I didn't say anything about glasses for anything. We only talked very briefly about contact lenses, and it was just a local blurb thing on the news.
I saw the news segment.
Feel free to publish whatever you want.
Do you want me to quote you? Wow. Zero accountability. That is insane. Now, don't get me wrong, Dr. Bullen. I'm sure it's nice that you got some free press out of this, but perhaps a little due diligence would serve you well next time? Isn't it insane that almost every pillar of trust in our society, the media, medical professionals, scientists, Logan Paul, seem to have in one way or another been ensnared in the scam? It's almost more concerning than the scam itself. Now, there's still one vital question left unanswered here. If these glasses really don't work as advertised, then why are there countless viral videos with emotional reactions to them? I believe it's the result of a collective ignorance. I, for example, have known about my color blindness for well over a decade, and despite visiting multiple professionals about it, not once was it explained to me why I perceive colors differently. Was it an issue in my eyes? Was it in my brain? Was it the connection between the two? I had no idea at all, and I'm most certainly not the only one that's been left in the dark. Even trained professionals, as you've just seen, don't know what they're talking about. It's a huge problem, and these companies have been able to leverage their false marketing claims off the back of this ignorance, leaving the 300 million people who suffer a color vision deficiency ripe for the picking and open to being exploited. Now, put yourself in the shoes of a colorblind person and imagine this. You arrive home one day to find your closest friends and family are all outside. There are colorful balloons everywhere and everyone's got their cameras out recording. And you find out they've all chipped in to buy you a pair of these miracle glasses you've seen online. Perhaps this alone is enough to make you cry. As a colorblind person, receiving a pair of these glasses is one of the most thoughtful gifts a loved one could give you. A family member finally hands you the glasses and you realize the moment you've been waiting for has finally come. You're about to see a whole new world of color for the very first time. You know they're gonna work because they're backed by science and medical professionals, but then you put on the glasses and see this. And if you're not crying by now, everyone is waiting with bated breath for your reaction. But even though the world hasn't suddenly burst into a spectrum of colors you've never seen before, you feel an immense pressure to react, to show gratitude, to give your family and friends the emotional response they're hoping for. Perhaps in this heightened emotional state, you even start to believe you are seeing true color. Regardless, it's not just about the glasses anymore. It's about not wanting to disappoint the people you care about. This creates a cycle where a legitimate reaction to these glasses can get overshadowed by psychological influences and a pressure to perform, further fueling the myth that these glasses actually work as advertised. The industry isn't just capitalizing on the hopes of those with color vision deficiencies, but also on the emotional vulnerabilities of consumers who just want to bring joy to their loved ones. It's actually really sad. In my opinion, this whole trend of people claiming to see color for the first time really only took off after Enchroma's marketing collaboration with Valspar. And I believe the success of that viral campaign laid the foundation for Enchroma's marketing strategy. Give free glasses to anyone with a sizable audience and let them do the marketing for us. Let them make the uninformed and absurd claims about our product. Even now, 7 years later, they're still offering free glasses to anyone with a large following, with the requirement that their experiences are filmed and shared online. Now, this isn't to say that all influencers who have tried these products are being disingenuous. However, you can't ignore the fact that influencers inherently want to create engaging content. You also can't rule out that influencers may feel compelled to speak positively about the product, given the product was gifted to them. Again, this is just my opinion, but I think Enchroma knows this and takes full advantage of it. My own experience with Enchroma revealed a similar pattern. When I started this project, I noticed they didn't ship to Korea, so I reached out to them for a review unit, emphasizing my desire to make an unbiased review while highlighting the lack of shipping to Korea. They responded offering the glasses at no cost and shipped them out. But when I asked them if they could bill me for the review unit, they said they couldn't. Now, perhaps there's a valid reason for this, but then I found out they can and do ship to South Korea. I simply had to switch to their US store for that option. So why not tell me this in the first place? Why not let me purchase the glasses myself so I can offer an unbiased review? I believe it's because they know the power of this reciprocal bias. Now, circling back, the media's role in perpetuating misinformation cannot be understated. Time and time again, they've been complicit in promoting products and ideas without proper vetting, all in the name of sensationalism and ratings. It's a sad state of affairs when a YouTuber has to do the investigative work that trained journalists should be doing. But this isn't just about the media's failure. It's about the exploitation of vulnerable individuals who genuinely seek solutions to their problems. It's about companies that prioritize profits over ethics, and it's about a society that often values virality over truth. In this age of information overload, critical thinking is paramount, especially when it comes to what we consume and share online. So, we must hold companies accountable for their claims and demand that policymakers and regulators, like the FDA and FTC, take action against these blatant scams. The truth isn't always as sensational as a tear-jerking video, but it's always more valuable. Isn't that right, John?
I've never seen this before.
Now, if you know someone who's colorblind, please do them a favor and share this two-part series with them. I'll be leaving links to all the scientific papers in the description, including the ones I've criticized. And if you want to learn more about color blindness, I highly recommend the channel Chromaphobe. He has some excellent videos that go into great detail about color blindness and the limitations of these glasses. Finally, I'd like to give a heartfelt thanks to the experts who offered their expertise on this video, along with the team of researchers who supported their studies. This video wouldn't have been possible without their hard work and dedication to the science. So for that, I'm truly grateful. Everyone give a shout out to the scientists in the comment section.
Is this what I think it is? No. Does it work? I'm gonna be honest, I don't see a difference.